third chapter, birth of Lord Krishna. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that His appearance, birth, activities are all transcendental. One who understands them factually, he becomes immediately eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. So, the Lord's appearance or birth is not like ordinary man who is forced to accept a material body according to his past deeds. The Lord appears, as explained in the second chapter, that there is no argument except that He appears out of His own pleasure, out of His sweet will. So, when the mature time was there for the appearance of the Lord, at that time the constellation of the stars and planets became very auspicious. The aesthetic influence of the stars, known as Rohini, was also there, because this constellation is considered to be very auspicious. Besides the proper situation of other planetary systems. According to astrological conclusion, there are auspicious and inauspicious moments due to different situation of different planetary systems. So, at the time of Krishna's birth, the planetary system was so automatically adjusted that the whole thing became auspicious. The star Rohini is considered to be under the direct supervision of Brahma. Brahma is also called unborn because he generated from the lotus stem out of the abdomen of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Expert. At that time, all the direction, namely east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. In the sky, there were auspicious stars visible, and on the surface, in all towns and villages, or pasturing ground, or within the mines, everywhere, there are signs of auspicity. The rivers were flowing full of water, lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers in the water, and the forests were full with beautiful birds and peacocks. All the birds within the forest began to sing in their sweet voice, and the peacocks began to dance along with their consorts. The wind was blowing very pleasantly, carrying the flavor of different flowers, and the touch sensation to the body was very much pleasing. Brahmins at home who are accustomed to offer sacrifices in the fire found their homes very pleasant to offer sacrifices on account of disturbances created by the demonic kings. The sacrificial fire altar was almost stopped in the house of Brahmins, and now they could find opportunity to reignite the fire peacefully. The Brahmins were practically very much distressed in their mind, intelligence and activities, being forbidden to offer sacrifices, but just on the point of Krishna's appearance, automatically their mind become full of joy, because they could hear that in the sky there was vibration of transcendental sounds signaling the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Next paragraph. The denizens of the Gandharva planets and residents of Kinnara planets began to sing, and similarly the denizens of Siddhaloka and the planets of the Charan began to offer nice prayers to the service of the Personality of Godhead, and the angels along with their wives in the heavenly planets, accompanied by the denizens known as Vidyadhara, along with their wives, began to dance. Next paragraph. The great sages and the demigods, being pleased within themselves, began to shower rains of flowers. The seashore, along with the sound of the mild waves in the sea, there was cloud on the sky. They also began to thunder very pleasingly. When things were adjusted like this, at that time, Lord Vishnu is residing within the heart of every living entity, appeared in that darkness of night as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, before Devaki, who also appeared as one of the demigoddess. Appearance of Lord Vishnu at that time could only be compared with the full moon on the sky as it rises on the eastern horizon. A question may be raised that Lord Krishna appeared on the 8th day of waning moon. How on the 8th day of waning moon there could be rising of the full moon? The answer to this, it can be said that Lord Krishna appeared in the dynasty which is hierarchy of the moon. Therefore, although the moon was on that night incomplete on account of his Lord's appearance in the dynasty, wherein moon is himself the original person out of his joyous condition of mind, and by the grace of Krishna, he could appear just like as full moon. There is a astronomical brochure named Kṛṣṇa. In this book, the constellation of stars at the time of appearance of Lord Krishna is very nicely described. And it is confirmed there that the child born in that auspicious moment is the Supreme Brahman or the Absolute Truth. When Vasudeva saw that wonderful child born, he began to see the baby with 4 hands, touching corn shell, cloth, disc, and lotus flower, decorated with the mark of a Sivasa jewel, necklace of Kaustuva stone, dressed in yellow silk, dazzling like bright blackish cloud, with helmet bedecked with Vidurja stone, valuable bracelet, earrings, and similar other ornaments all over the body with bunch of hair on the head was extraordinary features of the child. So naturally Vasudeva was struck with wonder how a newly born child could be so decorated. So he could therefore understand that Lord Kṛṣṇa has now appeared and become too much overpowered on the occasion. Vasudeva very humbly thought of himself that he was ordinary living entities conditioned by the material nature, and over and above that he was imprisoned by a consort externally. Still the all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu or Kṛṣṇa, could appear, the child in his home, exactly in his original position. No earthly child is born with 4 hands decorated with ornaments and nice clothing, fully equipped with all the significance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, over and over again, he began to glance over his child and thought how to celebrate this auspicious ceremony. Generally, when a male child is born, people observe so many celebrations in jubilation, and in my home, although I am imprisoned, the Supreme Personality Godhead has taken birth, so how many millions upon millions times I should be prepared to observe this auspicious ceremony. Bit number 6, Kṛṣṇa, Anakadunduvi, which is another name of Vasudeva, a father of Kṛṣṇa. When he was looking on his newly born baby, he was certainly so much engladdened that he wanted to give in charity many thousands of cows to the brāhmaṇas. That is the system of Kshatriya kings. Whenever there is some auspicious ceremony in the king's palace, the king would give in charity so many things out of those. Cows decorated and with golden ornaments would be delivered to the Brahmins and sages. So he wanted to perform the charitable ceremony on account of Krishna's appearance, but because he was imprisoned within the prison walls of consort, he could not actually go out, but from within his mind, he gave those thousands of cows to the Brahmins. After this, Vasudeva, when he was convinced that the newly born child was the Supreme Personality of God himself, he bowed down himself with folded hands and began to offer him prayers. At that time, Vasudeva was in a transcendental position of thinking, and as such, he became completely free from all fears out of consort. Newly born baby was also flashing his effulgences within the room in which he appeared. Vasudeva then began to offer his prayer as follows. My dear Lord, I can understand who are you. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul of all living entities, and the absolute truth. You have appeared in your own eternal form, directly perceived by us, and I can understand that because I am afraid of consorts, therefore I can understand that you have appeared just to deliver me from that position. You do not belong to this material world, but you are the same person who simply by glancing over the material nature, there is cosmic manifestation. If somebody argues how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who creates simply by his glance the whole cosmic manifestation, come within the womb of Devaki, wife of Vasudeva. To eradicate this argument, Vasudeva said, my dear Lord, it is not very wonderful thing to appear yourself within the womb of Devaki, because the creation was also made in that way. You were lying in the causal ocean as Mahavishnu, and by your breathing process, innumerable universes came into existence. Then you entered in each of the universes as Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Then again, you expanded himself as Kshirodakshai Vishnu and entered into the heart of all living entities, and not only in the heart of all living entities, you enter even within the atom. So therefore, your entrance in the womb of Devaki is like that. Appear to have entered, but you are all pervading simultaneously. In this connection, we can understand your entrance and not entrance from material examples, just like the total material energy remains intact, even though after being divided into 16 elements, the total material element creates this cosmic manifestation. Any material body is nothing but combination of the 5 elements, namely air, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. As such, whenever there is any material body, it appears that such elements are created newly, but actually such elements are always existing outside the body. Similarly, when you appear as a child in the womb of Devaki, it does not mean that you are not existing outside. You are always in your abode, but still you can expand yourself in millions of appearing forms simultaneously. One has to understand your appearance with great intelligence, because material energy is also emanation from you. You are the original source of material energy. Just like the sunshine is emanation from the sun glow. Therefore, sunshine cannot be covering influence of the sun glow. Similarly, the material energy being emanation from you or being your energy, material energy cannot cover you. You appear to be in the three modes of material energy, but actually the three modes of material energy cannot cover you. This is to be understood by high intellectual philosopher. In other words, although you appear to be within the material energy, you are always covered by the material energy. We hear from Vedic version that the Supreme Brahma exhibits his effulgence and therefore everything becomes illuminated. Similarly, we can understand from Brahma Samhita that the Brahma Jyoti or the Brahma effulgence is emanation from the body of the Supreme Lord. And out of the Brahma effulgence, all creation takes place. And as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is also support of the Brahma effulgence. Therefore, originally, he is the root cause of everything. As such, persons who are less intelligent, they think that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes within this material world, he accepts the material qualities. Such conclusion is not very mature. Such conclusions are made by less intelligent class of men without knowing that the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly and indirectly is existing everywhere. He is without this material creation and he is within this material creation. He is within this material creation not only as Garbhotoksai Vishnu, but also he is within the atom also. The existence of atom also depends due to his presence. Nothing can be separated from his existence. The Vedic injunction, we find it that the Supreme Soul or the root cause of everything has to be searched out, because nothing exists without the Supreme Soul. Therefore, the material manifestation is also transformation of his potency. The inert matter and the living force, soul, both of them are emanation from him. Therefore, the conclusion that the Supreme Lord, when he appears, accepts a separate thing, which is known as matter, is supposition of the childish, less intelligent class of men. Actually, even if he appears to have accepted the material body, still he is not subjected to any material condition. Kṛṣṇa has therefore appeared defeating all such imperfect conclusion about the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Next paragraph. My Lord, your appearance, existence and disappearance are without any influence of the material qualities, because your Lordship being the controller of everything and the Supreme Brahma, there is nothing inconceivable and contradictory in you. As you have said it, that the material nature works under your superintendence. It is just like government officers are working under the order of the Supreme Executive. Therefore, the influence of such subordinate activities cannot affect you. Your Lordship being the Supreme Brahma, everything is existing within you, and all the activities of material nature being controlled by you, you are not affected by such qualities. That's right. You are always unaffected by the material qualities. Therefore, you are called Shuklam. Shuklam, or whiteness, is a symbolic representation of the absolute truth on account of being unaffected by the material qualities. Whereas Brahma is called Rakta, or the Brahma's color is red on account of representation of the quality of passion for creation. And the quality of darkness entrusted to Lord Shiva is meant for annihilation of the creation. Therefore, the creation, annihilation and maintenance of this cosmic manifestation is conducted by your potencies. Still, you are always unaffected by such qualities as it is confirmed in the Vedas, Harihi Nirguna Sakshat, which means the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always freed from all material qualities. It is also said that two qualities, namely the passion and ignorance, are non-existent in the person of the Supreme Lord. Although you are the living force of maintenance, still you are not affected by the qualities of material nature. Next paragraph. Therefore, my Lord, you are the Supreme Controller, Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Great, in order to maintain the order of this cosmic manifestation. In spite of your being the Supreme Controller, you have so kindly appeared in my home. The purpose of your appearance is to kill the followers of the demon rulers of the world who are in the dress of royal prince, but they are actually demons. I am sure that we will kill all of them and their followers and soldiers. Next paragraph. Although I understand that you have appeared to kill this uncivilized consort and his followers, still I may inform you that knowing that you are appearing to kill him and his followers, he has already killed so many of your predecessors, elder brothers, and my Lord is simply awaiting the news of your birth, and as soon as he hears about this, he will immediately appear with all kinds of weapons to kill you. After this prayer of Vasudeva, Devaki, the mother of Krishna, offered her prayers also in the following words. He was very much frightened on account of his brothers' atrocities. Devaki said, "My dear Lord, your eternal forms like Narayana, Lord Ram, Ayashirsha, Varaha, Nishinga, Brāhmaṇa, Baladeva, and millions of such incarnations emanating from Vishnu as they are described in the Vedic literature as original. You are original because all your forms as incarnation, they are not within these material creation. Your forms existed before this cosmic manifestation was in creation. Such forms are eternal and all-pervading. Such forms are self-effulgent without any change and without being contaminated by the material qualities. Such eternal forms are ever cognizant and full of bliss, situated in transcendental goodness and being always engaged in different pastimes. You are not limited to a particular form only, but all such transcendental eternal forms are self-sufficient, and I can understand that you are the Supreme Lord Vishnu. After many millions of years, when Lord Brahma comes to the end of his duration of life, the annihilation of the cosmic manifestation takes place. At that time, the 5 elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, enters into the Mahatattva. Mahatattva again enters by the force of time into the non-manifested total material energy. At last, this total material energy enters into the energetic Pradhan. The Pradhan also enters unto you. Therefore, after the annihilation of the whole cosmic manifestation, you alone remain with your transcendental name for quality and paraphernalia. Next verse. My Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you are the director of the unmanifested total energy, and you are the ultimate reservoir of the material nature. My Lord, whole cosmic manifestation is under the influence of time, beginning from moment up to the end of the duration of year. All of them act under your direction. Therefore, you are the original director of everything and the reservoir of all potent energies. All the conditioned souls, they are fleeing from one body to another or one planet to another continually. Still, they are not freed from the onslaught of birth and death. But when one comes under the shelter of your lotus feet, such fearful living entity can lie down without any anxiety of being attacked by the formidable death. This statement of Devaki is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita by Lord himself, that even after traveling all over the universes, beginning from the Brahmaloka down to the Patala Loka, nobody can escape the attack of birth, death, old age and disease. But anyone who enters in the kingdom of God has no more any obligation to come to this material world. Therefore, my Lord, I request you to save me from the cruel hands of the son of Ugrasena Kṛṣṇa. I am praying your Lordship to rescue me from this fearful condition, because you are always ready to give protection to your servitors. Lord has confirmed this statement in the Bhagavad Gita, assuring Arjuna that, Arjuna, you may declare in the world that my devotee shall never be vanquished. Mother Devaki, while thus praying to the Lord for being rescued from the fearful condition, still out of motherly affection, she requested the Lord that this transcendental force is generally perceived by meditation of the great sages. But I am still afraid, because as soon as Kṛṣṇa will understand that you have appeared, he might do some harm to you. I therefore request you that for the time being, you may not be visible to our material eyes. In other words, she requested the Lord to assume the form of ordinary child. Next verse, my only cause of fearfulness from my brother Kṛṣṇa is due to your appearance. Therefore, my Lord Madhusudan, I request you that Kṛṣṇa may not know that you are already born. Lord, I therefore request you to conceal this form of your Lordship, bearing with the four symbols of Vishnu, namely the conch shell, the disc, the club, and the lotus flower, with your four hands. My dear Lord, at the end of the annihilation of the cosmic manifestation, you put the whole universe within your abdomen. Still, by your unalloyed mercy, you have appeared in my abdomen. I am therefore surprised how you can imitate the activities of ordinary human being just to please your devotee. Next part, on hearing the prayers of Devaki, the Lord replied, my dear mother, in the millennium of Sambhuva Manu, Father Vasudeva was living as one of the Prajapatis, and his name was at that time Sutapa, and you remained as his wife of the name Kṛṣṇa. At that time, when Lord Brahma, desiring to increase the population, requested you to generate offsprings, you control your senses and perform severe austerities. And both of you, by practicing the breathing exercise of yoga system, you could tolerate the all influence of material laws during the time of rainy season, slaughter of the wind, scorching heat of the sunshine, and you executed all religious principles. This way you are able to cleanse your heart, as well as you could control the influence of material laws. For executing your austerity, you used to eat only leaves of the trees which are fallen on the ground. Thus, in steady mind and control your sex, you severely worship me, just desiring some wonderful benediction from me. Both of you practice these severe austerities for 12,000 of years in the calculation of the demigods. During that time, your mind was always absorbed in me. When you are executing such devotional service, always thinking of me within your heart. That time I was very much pleased upon you, and the sinless mother, your heart is therefore always pure. That time also I appeared before you in this form just to fulfill your desire. I ask you to take from you whatever you desire. That time you wish to have a son like me born of you. That time, although you saw me personally, instead of asking from me your complete liberation from the material bondage, under the influence of my energy, you asked me to become your son. In other words, the Lord selected his mother and father, namely Kṛṣṇa and Sutapa respectively, to appear in the material world, because whenever the Lord comes as a human being, he must have somebody as mother and father. So he selected Kṛṣṇa and Sutapa perpetually as his mother and father. And on account of this, both Kṛṣṇa and Sutapa could not ask from the Lord liberation. In other words, to a devotee, liberation is not so important as the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Lord could have awarded that Kṛṣṇa and Sutapa immediate liberation, but the Lord preferred to keep them within this material world for his different appearances, as it will be explained in the following verses. On that occasion, after receiving the benediction from the Lord to become his father and mother, both Kṛṣṇa and Sutapa returned from the activities of austerity and lived as husband and wife to get a child who was the Supreme Lord himself. That's why in due course of time, Kṛṣṇa became pregnant and gave birth to the child. At that time, my name was Kṛṣṇa. The next millennium also, you took birth as Priti and Kashyap. I became your child of the name Upendra. That time, my form was just like a dwarf. For this reason, I was known as brāhmaṇas. The Lord informed Devaki that I gave you benediction that 3 times I shall take birth as your son. So the first I was known as Kṛṣṇa, born of Kṛṣṇa and Sutapa, and the next birth I was born as Upendra, born of Aditi and Kashyapa. Now, for the 3rd time, I am born as Kṛṣṇa from you, Devaki and Vasudeva. I have appeared in this Vishnu form just to convince you that I am the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, taken birth this time also. I could have appeared just like ordinary child, but in that way you could not believe that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has taken birth in your abdomen. My dear father and mother, you have therefore many times praised me as your child with great affection and love. I am therefore very much pleased and obliged to you, and assure you that this time you shall now go back to home, back to Godhead, on account of your perfection of the mission. So far you are very much concerned about me, being afraid of Kṛṣṇa, now I order you that you take me immediately to Gokula and replace me there with the daughter born of Jasoda just at this time. While the Lord was speaking thus, immediately in the presence of his father and mother, turned himself just like an ordinary child and remained silent. Thus being ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when Vasudeva was just attempting to go out, taking his son from the delivery room, exactly at that time a daughter was born of Nanda and Jasoda. She was Yogamaya, the internal potency of Lord herself. By the influence of this internal potency, Yogamaya, all the residents of consort palace, especially the doorkeepers, they were overwhelmed with fast sleep, and the high great palace doors became all open, although they were shackled with iron chains and closing bars. Although the night was very dark, still, as soon as Vasudeva took Kṛṣṇa on his lap and was going out, he could see everything just like in the sunlight. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that Kṛṣṇa is just like sunlight, and wherever there is Kṛṣṇa, the illusory energy which is compared with darkness cannot remain there. Therefore, when Vasudeva was carrying Lord Kṛṣṇa, the darkness of the night all disappeared. All the different doors became automatically open. At the same time, there was a roaring cloud on the sky, and there was severe rainfall also. While Vasudeva was carrying his son Kṛṣṇa, and there was rainfall, Lord Sesha, in the shape of serpent, spread his hood over the head of Vasudeva so that he could not appreciate the rainfall at that time. When Vasudeva came on the bank of the Jamuna, he saw that the water of the Jamuna was roaring with waves, and the whole span of water was full with foams. Still, in that furious feature of the river, it gave passage to Vasudeva to cross, as if great Indian Ocean gave path to Lord Rama when he was bridging over the Gulf. In this way, Vasudeva crossed over the river Jamuna, and on the other side reached the place of Nanda Maharaj, situated in Gokula, where he saw that all the cowherds men were fast sleeping. He took the opportunity of silently entering into the house of Jasoda, and there was no difficulty in displacing his son, taking away the newly born girl to be born in the house of Jasoda. So then, after entering the house, very silently exchanged the boy with the girl, again came back the custody of Kṛṣṇa, and silently kept the girl on the lap of Devaki, and then dressed himself again with the shackles so that Kṛṣṇa could not recognize that so many things had happened in the meantime. Mother Jasoda, she understood that some child has born of her. She did not know whether the child was male or female. She was very much tired out of the labor of childbirth, and so she was also fast asleep. And when she was awakened, she could not understand whether she gave birth to a male child or female child. Thus, hence the Bhaktivedanta summary study of the third chapter, known as Birth of Lord Krishna.